Hey class, today Mr. G here. We're going to be making some salt dough, so we're going to need some of those basic ingredients we got in the kitchen. Salt, flour, water, and mixing that together to make that fun little dough stuff. Now, I went ahead and got smart. I went ahead and grabbed a container to put salt, flour into, and that container is going to be the one that I store my dough in afterwards. It's a good tip for us while we're teaching outside of school here. Inside of the container, we have 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of salt, 1 cup of sugar. Oh, sorry. That's a different recipe. 1 cup of water. I will say now, ahead of time, I used more water than I really should have. I put, I think, about 1.5 cups in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir in the dry ingredients, then add my wet in. So just slowly mixing in a little bit of that salt with the flour, then I'll start adding in the water. Now, once you've incorporated most of those together, just so that there's a little bit of those are all mixed properly. Add a little bit of water at a time to mix. And we want to hydrate this slowly. The reason we're hydrating it slowly is so that we can make sure that all of our pieces are incorporated evenly. We want to minimize as many lumps in this as possible. And you will be kneading this as well. Slide the coffee out of the way. Don't want to get coffee mixed in with this. Now, what it said on the directions for making that salt dough, you want to mix it for about 10 minutes and knead it up. And then all of the pieces will be mixed together properly. Afterwards, it will then be ready to start using about 20 minutes after that. Nice even dough mixture. It's extra loose looking right now. I think I might need to add just a little more flour to mine. I'm getting in those corners and really digging out the extra amount so it all blends together evenly. Back, just adding a little more flour. Mix it in to fully incorporate. Better consistency, just a little flour. I can tell when I added the water, I added way too much water. And because because of that extra water, it did not want to gel the way I wanted it to. I'm gonna use one of my drafting boards. Use these if we're doing some big drawings. And right now, I'm using it to work out my dough. So I keep my surfaces as clean as possible. Always handy to have additional places to work from. So I'm just going to take my dough mixture, put it out on my table. Now remember, all that's in here is salt and flour. So as we're scooping it out, we're going to be kneading this with our hands. That's going to further cause the flour to bind together, stick, less of a mess. Now, we put the salt in there to make sure that it doesn't mold, because if it's just flour and water, like normal art paste or normal paper mache, it will mold. Ooh, that's a little loose. Just feel it as I'm moving it around. Just gathering the rest of this flour off my board. Now, as you're kneading it, you push away, pull back, flop over, knead away, pull back, flop over. And all we're doing is we're pushing the protein strains that are in the flour, forcing that to become gluten. And when it becomes gluten, it starts to create those elastic bonds, which helps the clay and the dough form. Now, we will be using a salt dough and a paper clay mix when we're making our final products. And salt dough will be just the salt dough option. The paper clay option will just be the paper clay pieces. We will not be mixing those two. The salt, the dough, and the paper clays will be completely separate items. So don't think that you can mix the paper, because you do have to bake these afterwards. You could bake the paper clay, but I'm not going to suggest that we do that, just for the way the paper clay works. Now, you want to work the dough for about 10 minutes. Again, all I'm doing is folding over on itself, pushing it away. If we were using this as a wedging technique, I could easily do the chrysanthemum wedge, which is the one that I'm kind of doing right now, where picking up, turning it just a little bit, and it makes that flower shape where it looks kind of like a chrysanthemum. It starts to create that spiral, and this thing just keeps getting looser in my hand. It's like a Newtonian fluid. It goes from that solid to somewhat of a liquid state, but it's because it starts to sag. Hope that you guys got something interesting out of making that dough today. Again, we're just diving into this stuff now, making that dough, coming up with something new, something creative to do while we're stuck at home and we need to make some projects at home. So let's go ahead and take care of that homework as we always do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share on all the various platforms. Don't forget to raise a hand in the comments below if you got a question from those ingredients that we used today. FYI, it was all AP flour, just all-purpose flour. You don't have to get special stuff unless you want to. But as always, I will see you guys next class. Until then, later, guys. And next class, we're going to be diving into some of the projects that we make with this stuff. So stay tuned.